She doesn't test you by asking questions. She tests you by watching what you do when nothing is said. Most people think a test looks loud. Arguments, ultimatums, demands. But the real tests are silent. They happen in pauses, in delayed replies, in moments where she becomes slightly distant, not enough for you to complain, but enough for you to feel it. And here is the uncomfortable truth most people miss. When she tests you, she is not trying to control you. She is trying to feel safe. This is where misunderstanding begins. From the outside, her behavior looks confusing. One day she's warm. The next day she's quiet. She doesn't explain. She doesn't accuse. She just changes her tone, her availability, her emotional temperature. And you start asking yourself questions she never asked you. Did I do something wrong? Why is she pulling back? Why won't she just say what she wants? But her silence is not avoidance. It is observation. Psychologically, many women learn early that directly asking for reassurance can backfire. They've seen what happens when needs are stated too clearly. They're minimized, they're mocked, or they're used against them later. So instead of asking, the mind adapts. It watches. She creates small emotional situations not to trap you, but to see how you naturally respond when you are not being instructed. Do you become impatient? Do you withdraw? Do you chase? Do you become defensive? Do you stay grounded? These reactions tell her far more than words ever could. This is why she tests without saying a word, because words invite performance. Silence reveals instinct. When no explanation is given, your nervous system takes over, and your nervous system never lies. Here's the deeper layer most people miss. These tests usually begin after emotional investment, not before. She doesn't test strangers. She doesn't test men she doesn't care about. She tests when attachment starts forming, when vulnerability becomes possible. And vulnerability is dangerous if emotional safety is uncertain. So the mind looks for patterns. Does he remain consistent when comfort is removed? Does he respect space without disappearing? Does he hold emotional stability without demanding control? This is not manipulation. This is risk assessment. Her silence is her way of asking, if I stop holding this together, will you become unsafe? And the tragedy is most people fail these tests not because they are bad, but because they don't know they're being tested at all. They panic. They over-explain. They push for clarity before emotional readiness exists. They try to force communication instead of creating calm. And every forced response gives her an answer she didn't want. Because the test was never about words. It was about emotional regulation under uncertainty. What most people never realize is this. Silent testing is not something she decides to do. It is something her nervous system defaults to. These tests are not planned. They are automatic responses built from past emotional outcomes. When emotional safety has been inconsistent in her life, the brain learns a rule. Direct requests are risky. Observation is safer. So instead of asking for reassurance, clarity, or commitment, her mind creates conditions where reassurance reveals itself naturally. Not because she enjoys confusion, but because confusion removes masks. Here's the psychology behind it. When someone asks directly, people prepare answers. They soften reactions. They perform understanding. But when nothing is said, reactions are raw. Behavior is unfiltered. Emotional truth appears. This is why silence becomes the testing ground. Silence removes scripts. This is also why these tests often feel unfair, because from your side, no rules were given. But from her side, the rule already exists internally. I need to see how you behave when I am not guiding you. And that rule didn't come from you, came from experience. Now here's the part that connects directly to the public experience. Something many people listening will recognize instantly. She doesn't test during conflict. She tests during emotional ambiguity. Moments where things are not bad, not perfect, just uncertain. Because uncertainty is where attachment shows its true shape. Does the other person stay grounded, or do they collapse emotionally? Does the other person respect space, or do they interpret distance as abandonment? Does the other person remain emotionally available, or do they retaliate with coldness? These reactions answer questions she never verbalizes. This is why small changes happen first. She replies later than usual. She shares less. She becomes quieter but not cold. These are not punishments. They are probes, micro-experiments run by the subconscious. And the response determines the next stage of closeness. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people fail these tests by trying to end them. They demand clarity. They push for labels. They force conversations too early. But forcing clarity destroys the very thing being measured. Because the test is not, can you explain yourself? The test is, can you remain emotionally stable when I don't? This is where attachment styles collide. Anxious patterns react strongly to silence. Avoidant patterns disappear. Controlling patterns demand answers. But secure behavior looks different. It stays calm without withdrawing, present without pressuring, available without chasing. And that calm presence answers the test faster than any conversation ever could. Another key insight most people miss. She does not test forever. Testing has an end. It ends the moment her nervous system feels one thing clearly. I don't have to manage this person's emotions for them. The moment she sees emotional self-regulation, the tests dissolve naturally. Not because she stopped playing games, but because the need for assessment disappeared. This is why some people say, she never tested me, and others say, she tested me constantly. The difference is not her personality. The difference is how safe her nervous system felt around them. Here's something that sounds uncomfortable at first, but explains everything once you see it clearly. She tests more when she senses emotional instability, not emotional weakness. Those two are very different. Emotional weakness looks like vulnerability, openness, softness. That doesn't trigger tests. Emotional instability looks like unpredictable reactions, mood shifts under pressure, emotional dependence disguised as care. And that is what her nervous system reacts to. Most people assume tests happen because she doubts her own feelings. In reality, tests happen because she is evaluating how much emotional labor she will have to carry if she gets closer. This is critical. Her subconscious question is not, do I like him? It is, if I lean in, will I have to manage his emotions too? And the brain is extremely sensitive to that risk. This is why silence becomes louder around certain people. If she senses that her quietness causes anxiety in you, her system marks that as a warning signal, not because anxiety is bad, but because uncontained anxiety becomes emotional responsibility. So the testing continues, not to hurt, not to control, but to gather more data. Here's where public experience comes in. Think about moments where she became quiet and you immediately felt uneasy. You tried to fix the silence instead of letting it breathe. You asked, "Is everything okay?" repeatedly. To you, that felt caring. To her nervous system, it felt like, I will have to reassure him every time I pull inward. That realization alone can change her entire emotional trajectory. This is why tests often intensify when things start going well. Emotional closeness increases. Future possibilities become real. Because the closer things get, the higher the cost of emotional instability becomes. So the subconscious raises the bar. Another layer people rarely talk about. Testing is not about trust alone. It's about containment. Can this person contain their emotions without spilling them onto me? Containment doesn't mean suppression. It means you feel deeply, but you don't collapse under uncertainty. You don't demand regulation from the other person. That quality is extremely calming to the nervous system, and calm is what ends testing. This is also why dramatic gestures don't work. Over-explaining, over-communicating, over-proving intentions. These behaviors signal effort, but effort is not the same as emotional steadiness. Steadiness is quiet, and silence is the environment where steadiness is revealed. Now here's the most important connection to earlier parts of the series. When testing continues without resolution, detachment begins quietly, not because she's cruel, but because her nervous system keeps receiving the same signal. Closeness here requires too much regulation. And when emotional regulation feels unsafe, distance becomes self-protection. When testing doesn't resolve quickly, it doesn't stop. It mutates. This is where people start calling her behavior confusing, inconsistent, hot and cold. But psychologically, nothing random is happening. What you're seeing is data collection under uncertainty. Here's what's really going on. When her nervous system hasn't reached a conclusion yet, creates contrast, warmth, then distance, engagement, then silence, availability, then withdrawal. Not to play games, but to observe how you regulate across emotional shifts. Each shift is a question without words. Do you stay the same when the emotional climate changes? Mixed signals are not mixed intent. They are unfinished assessment. Now here's why confronting this almost always fails. When someone says, "Why are you acting like this? Just tell me what you want. Why do you test me?" Feels logical, but psychologically, confrontation collapses the experiment. Because the test was never, "Can you explain yourself?" The test was, "Who are you when I don't?" The moment you force explanation, the nervous system doesn't get its answer. It only learns. I cannot observe naturally here. And when natural observation is blocked, distance increases, not clarity. This is why many people feel like, the more I tried to talk it out, the worse it got. That's not because communication is bad. It's because timing matters. Testing happens before the nervous system feels safe enough for open dialogue. Trying to skip that stage creates pressure, and pressure triggers withdrawal. Another subtle but critical point: she often doesn't know she's testing. This is not manipulation with intent. It's instinctive calibration. Her mind is saying, I need to see stability before I risk expression. So when you ask for expression prematurely, feels like danger, not connection. Here's where most people unknowingly fail the test. They try to control the outcome, define the relationship, lock certainty. But testing is not about certainty. It's about emotional reliability under ambiguity. Can you exist without needing immediate resolution? Can you remain grounded when answers aren't given yet? Those questions matter more than any verbal reassurance. This explains something many people experience but can't explain: why sometimes doing less works better than doing more. Why calm presence feels more attractive than constant communication. Why steadiness dissolves tension faster than persuasion. Because testing isn't solved by effort. It's solved by consistency without pressure. Here's the truth most advice never reaches. Testing doesn't end when she gets answers. It ends when she feels regulation, not reassurance, not promises, not explanations, regulation. Her nervous system is watching for one precise signal. I don't have to manage this person's emotional state. When that signal is consistently present, the tests dissolve on their own. Let's make this concrete. During silence, she is unconsciously scanning for emotional steadiness without withdrawal, presence without pressure, interest without dependency. The moment she sees that her quiet doesn't destabilize you, her system relaxes. Why? Because silence stops being a threat. This is why some people experience a sudden shift. One day, she stops pulling back. She becomes more open. Communication increases without being requested. Feels sudden, but psychologically it isn't. The nervous system reached a conclusion. This environment is safe for expression, and safety unlocks speech. Now here's the part that surprises most listeners. Trying to pass the test makes you fail it. Because the moment you perform calmness, the nervous system detects effort. Real regulation is not strategic. It's embodied. It looks like you notice the distance. You don't deny it. You don't react to it. You continue being yourself. That's what ends testing. Another critical insight: testing is not about control. It's about future emotional load. Her mind is projecting forward. If life gets hard, if emotions fluctuate, if stress enters the picture, who will regulate whom? When she senses she won't be carrying both people emotionally, testing stops. This also explains why testing doesn't happen equally with everyone. It appears more around people who outsource emotional regulation, seek reassurance during uncertainty, confuse closeness with emotional dependency, and it disappears around people who feel deeply but remain grounded. Allow silence without panic. Don't make their emotions someone else's responsibility. Here's the bridge to what comes next in the series. When testing ends successfully, communication becomes clearer, warmth becomes consistent, attachment stabilizes. When testing fails, detachment begins quietly, interest fades without conflict, distance feels inevitable. That's not cruelty. That's the nervous system choosing the path of least emotional cost. She was never asking you questions. She was watching how you held yourself. When nothing was explained, when space appeared, did you collapse into anxiety or remain present without pressure? When silence stretched, did you try to control the outcome or allow the moment to breathe? Because the truth is this: she doesn't test words. She tests emotional stability. And the moment she realizes she doesn't have to regulate your emotions for you, the testing ends. Not with a conversation, not with a confession, but with calm. That calm tells her something words never could. That closeness won't cost her peace. That vulnerability won't become responsibility. That expression will be met with steadiness, not fear. And when a woman feels that she doesn't need to test anymore, she speaks, she softens, she leans in, not because you convinced her, but because her nervous system finally felt safe enough to stop watching. This is why the quiet moments matter more than the loud ones. Because silence doesn't hide the truth. It reveals it.